Hey folks, this is Jake Davis with a old school wrestling video for you today. And today this month I decided to treat myself and decided to go back and revisit what is genuinely considered by many wrestling fans as the greatest SummerSlam of all time. Now, if you were to ask fans what are the all-time greatest SummerSlams, you'll most likely hear 1998, 2013, or most likely hear 2002. That's right, the 2002 SummerSlam. Held on August 25th of that year, live from the legendary Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, New York, with a commentary team representing the SmackDown matches, Michael Cole and Taz, and the Raw matches, Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler. It's important to point out that the entire company, the entire wrestling landscape really felt like a completely different world at this time. They were about a year and a half removed from Vince McMahon, the end of the Monday Night Wars, Vince McMahon buying WCW and ECW. Shortly after WrestleMania earlier in the year, they went ahead with the brand splits. In May, the company had lost a lawsuit with the World Wildlife Fund that forced them to change their name. They eventually just dropped the F. They were already calling themselves World Wrestling Federation Entertainment, so they just went with World Wrestling Entertainment. And all of this kind of stuff kind of ended up, going into SummerSlam, you really kind of feel like it's a completely different creature, completely different organization than what was there just merely a year or more ago. And not to mention, most legendarily, most famously around this time, the famous walkout by Stone Cold Steve Austin, who did not want a job to a rookie on an unpromoted random match on Monday Night Raw. And look, did Austin handle it professionally? Maybe not. Did WWE handle it maturely? Absolutely not. But the point is, Stone Cold Steve Austin shouldn't have to job to anyone he doesn't want to, and that's all there is to it. And I really feel that way. If Edge doesn't want to put a guy over, then he shouldn't have to. Period. John Cena, same thing. If he doesn't want to put a guy over, he should not have to with the kind of credibility and kind of time he's put into the business. That's just how it is. But let's get into the show. That, like I said, this is very much considered the greatest SummerSlam of all time, and for very good reason. 8 of the 18 men who compete on this show, 15 of them either already were or would eventually become World Heavyweight Champion, and 8 of those 15 guys are now in the Hall of Fame, and many more are eventually going to be in there once they just make their deals with Vince. You know, guys like The Rock, The Undertaker, and Chris Jericho. Okay, and Rey Mysterio Jr., if he ever fucking retires. Ray's gonna die in the ring, man. I mean, fuck, man, I shouldn't say that, man, because he already lost an eye last year. Look at this shit. Got pinched by my daughter's playpen. Hurt like hell, man. Anyhow, opening match is Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio. This is probably one of the best matches in SummerSlam history and easily the best opener in the history of the show. This was also Rey's very first WWE pay-per-view match and pay-per-view appearance. And I was actually wrong. I thought this was Kurt's first pay-per-view appearance with a bald head, but I was wrong. It was the pay-per-view before this Vengeance. This is a very good match. Rey comes into the crowd, jumps Kurt from behind early on. This great spot where Kurt's on the outside. Rey's gonna do a suicide dive on him, but Charles Robinson, the referee, cuts him off. Gets this great reaction, big boo from the crowd. Then while Charles Robinson's trying to count Kurt out, Rey says fuck it. He hits the ropes again and just leapfrogs over the referee to the outside on the Kurt Angle. What a great moment. That's just a terrific wrestling moment. The finish comes when Rey goes for a Hurricane Rana, which was his bread and butter, off the top rope. Kurt is able to land on his feet and catch Rey in the ankle lock. And Rey's in the ankle lock for a good, nearly a damn minute here. He slings Rey to the middle of the ring. Great visual there, just slinging a man like that by his ankle. It was so cool. Just locking it, cinching and wrenching on it. Eventually, Ray taps out. The match goes 9 minutes, 20 seconds, and it's just so goddamn good. A lot has been said about the SmackDown sits. So the SmackDown sits, I've often even heard people misname who the SmackDown sits were. Just so you know, there were Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero, Rey Mysterio Jr., and Edge. And the reason they were called the SmackDown sits wasn't because they had their own faction or anything like that. It was basically because between like the summer of 02 and the fall of 03, if you tuned into SmackDown and one of any of those 6 guys were wrestling in a match, you were guaranteed top quality matches. And if 2 of those guys were fighting each other, fucking barn burner. Guaranteed. I specifically remember, I don't remember where it was, may have been just on a random episode of SmackDown, but it was a 4-way between Angle, Benoit, Eddie, and Edge. And whoa, it was just great. It was a great match. So yeah, Angle wins this match. Backstage, we see Stephanie McMahon kind of arriving, going to her office where she sees Eric Bischoff in the office. And Bischoff is the Raw general manager, Stephanie's the SmackDown general manager, but since there's only the one office, they have to share the office for the night. We'll keep cutting back and forth to them throughout the night. It's kind of boring, but it does go somewhere. Up next is Chris Jericho versus Ric Flair. And I always thought it was weird where this match goes. It seems like really early on the show for such a two high quality guys. The whole going into this match, Flair had Fozzy was performing live on Raw, and Flair had like trashed their set. It was funny. But more importantly than anything else about this thing, this is a good match. The finish comes with Jericho locks in a figure 4. Beautiful figure 4. Really got to credit Chris Jericho. I don't know if I've ever noticed how good his figure 4 was. Very, very good figure 4. People shit on The Miz for not having such a good figure 4. I actually prefer his to Charlotte. Charlotte's just seems too convoluted. Seems like she leaves her more vulnerable than actually applies pressure to the move. Hogan had a shitty figure 4. No one has a worse figure 4 than Shawn Michaels. He had the absolute worst one ever. It looks like he's hurting himself. But what's most famous about this match is the finish. Is that Jericho goes for it locks him in the figure 4. Flair gets to the ropes, but while the referee's breaking him the hold, Flair's actually tapping with the other hand. Jericho thinks he has won. The referee gets poked in the eyes. Nate hits a low blow, locks Jericho in the figure 4, and Jericho taps out, giving Ric Flair the win. Now, this match is more famous than anything else for the actual real story behind it backstage. The original finish was supposed to be a low blow, schoolboy, but Chris Jericho, well, why don't we use the figure 4? And Flair was kind of like in this insecure stage of his career at the time. He really didn't feel, he kind of felt washed up and everything, and felt like he didn't deserve to win a big stage match with his finisher. And since this was Ric Flair's very first match at SummerSlam ever, and Chris Jericho's like, no, you're using the figure 4 and I'm going to tap out. And, if campaigning to make yourself tap out in a match doesn't show just what a professional Chris Jericho is, then I don't know what else to tell you about the man, to be honest. But I think it's a very impressive story. Backstage, we see Paul Heyman hyping up Brock Lesnar for his match, really playing into the story of the match. The Rock is more of an underdog, and Brock's undefeated. I mean, he choked out Hulk Hogan on SmackDown or Raw a few weeks earlier, and he's been unstoppable. Brock has been absolutely unstoppable since he's gotten in the business, and despite how great The Rock is, no one is expecting The Rock to win tonight. Really great backstage promo, especially considering how it's one of those things I hate, how there's no interviewer and they're supposed to pretend they don't notice the camera. I really hate that kind of shit in wrestling. Up next is Eddie Guerrero versus Edge. I just gotta praise Edge's attire here for a second. I love the white and gold look he goes for on this show. Really, really cool looking look. Oh, by the way, the Jericho Flair match went 10 minutes. This is another good match, a really smart match. Eddie's really working on the shoulder for a long, long time in the bout. The finish comes where Eddie kind of fucks up, misses his chance. He's able to hit a frog splash, but he still is just focusing on Edge's shoulder. And so Edge really doesn't get the whole impact of the frog splash. It's just in his shoulder, so he's able to kick out with the other shoulder. And he goes for some kind of top... he goes for like an old school kind of... his old school leg lariat thing. Edge is able to block it. Eddie hits the ropes. Edge ducks a clothesline, hits the other rope, and comes back with a spear, pins Eddie to win the match in 11 minutes. This was a very, very good match, but I do think their match at the following pay-per-view, Unforgiven, was superior to this match. I think that Unforgiven match stole the fucking show. It was really, really good. But another thing I want to point out, both Jericho and Flair and Eddie and Edge went second and third on both this show and Unforgiven. The guy who lost at SummerSlam won at Unforgiven. I don't know if anybody else will point that out, but I've always thought that was pretty lazy booking, to be honest with you. I mean, exact same position, exact same match, just the other guy wins. Up next is, we go to, yeah, their all-season commercial. I mean, look, I don't think wrestling should have a union. The wrestlers do have a union. It's called AEW. Go there if you don't want to work for Vince McMahon. I wouldn't want to work for Vince McMahon, and I fucking love pro wrestling. I would love to be like a writer or a ref or just a guy playing a security dude who gets fucking thrown around by Samoa Joe or something. I'd love to do that. I would jump at the chance to do something like that, but I would never, ever want to work for someone like Vince McMahon. We go to Jonathan Coachman backstage, who is interviewing the Un-Americans, who are anti-American group. The tag team champions at the time, Christian and Lance Storm, and the third man is Test. They hate America. They bitch about America. They really, really shit all over America. There's a spot on Monday Night Raw where they set the flag on fire. They wave the flag upside down, which is national distress order. What was so tasteless about all of this is the whole thing launched literally just 10 months after September 11th, and nobody wanted to see this shit. And the truth is, the guys behind it, Storm, Christian, and Test, weren't cool with it either. They didn't want to do this, and they didn't need to go this route to get heat. Any of these guys, especially Christian. And eventually they added other foreigners like Englishman William Regal and even Japanese Funaki to the faction to kind of take the heat off of Canada. But really, for a while, as you see on this show, it's Christian, Storm, and Test versus Booker T, Goldust, and Undertaker. So it really does just feel like Canada versus Texas. But yeah, these guys really, really weren't comfortable with it. I thought they did a good job with what they were given, but the guys didn't like doing it and really wanted out of it as soon as they could. I think Christian would definitely end up soaring with his team with his tag team with Chris Jericho, and then later the next year when he cut his hair and won the IC title, really came into his own. Test would end up also cutting his hair, switching up his attire, end up using Stacy Keibler as a manager, and he did a good job for a while until they tried to put him in tag team with Scott Steiner, which just didn't gel for him. And unfortunately, WWE just never knew what to do with Lance Storm, who was just a damn shame. The guy's so talented. I mean, literally the only company he never really got to shine in. You know, he got to shine in ROH, WCW, ECW, but in WWE, creative has nothing for you. Go figure. Anyhow, up next is our first of 3 championship matches on the night. This is for the World Tag Team titles. Christian and Lance Storm defending against Booker T and Goldust. And more than anything else that happens in this match, the most famous thing is that Booker T's pyro sets the damn set on fire. Which is, I mean, at least it didn't happen during The Undertaker's entrance. It's just the best I could say, I guess. But yeah, he sets the damn set on fire. It's a classic tag team match. Goldust takes a lot of heat, takes a lot of damage, all building up for that hot tag. If there's a tease hot tag, the ref doesn't see it. Booker finally gets a tag and comes in like a house of fire, beats the shit out of everybody. The referee's distracted. Lance Storm goes to hit Booker with the belt. Booker ducks it. Bam! Whacks him with the sidekick. Hits Christian with some shit. Booker has it won, but the referee's still distracted. Test hits the ring. Hits that big boot. The best big boot in the history of wrestling, by the way, on Test. Christian covers, and the Un-Americans retain the titles. Overall, it's a good tag team match. I just think it's a bit of a shame it's the only tag match, or only multi-man of any kind on this entire show. Up next, we go to, we catch up with, we go to the World, which was what they were calling WWF New York after they had lost their copyright for WWF. And Nydia is literally picking between what 2 jobbers she's going to make out with the night, while Jamie Noble totally cucks out on the side and roots the dude on. It's important to note that Jamie Noble is a fucking cruiserweight champion at this time. And this was his pay-per-view payday. Being in the same state, mind you. Same state. They're still in Long Island. He could have been at SummerSlam. But no, we're just going to send you down to the sports restaurant. We don't really need you to wrestle tonight, champ. We go back again to the goddamn general manager's locker room where Stephanie McMahon and Eric Bischoff are dropping lots of sexual innuendos while they're talking about the upcoming Intercontinental title match. Now, here is the deal. Chris Benoit is the Intercontinental Champion. He was drafted to SmackDown by McMahon at the beginning of the draft, but then signed a contract with Eric Bischoff because of their history to wrestle on Raw. After winning the Intercontinental Championship from Rob Van Dam, him and Eddie Guerrero then jumped ship to SmackDown for Stephanie McMahon for more money. Now, the whole deal is Benoit's on SmackDown. He has the IC Championship, but Van Dam still has a rematch, so this is the SummerSlam interpromotional match. Whichever brand wins also gets the Intercontinental Championship. This is actually a really, really good match, even though it's kind of difficult to watch with Chris. You know, it's always hard to watch Benoit matches. It just is. But he, the psychology of this match is actually brilliant. And this kind of thing we don't really get in wrestling that much anymore, where a character really focuses on a single limb. And in this match we had 2 matches. It's the shoulder and the elbow. In this match, Benoit just focused on that elbow. Everything is going back to the elbow. We were talking about he'll do like these hammer locks and then suplex RVD like that. It's just awesome. The match goes for quite a while. By the way, the tag title match went 9 minutes. This match was really good, but Benoit beats the shit out of RVD. RVD tries, but he just can't out-wrestle. It's not until he gets to daringness. He goes for gotta point out, RVD gets his ponytail knocked out in this match. How many times have you seen RVD get his ponytail knocked out? It's so rare. It's like it should happen all the time. Anyhow, he goes for a split-legged moonsault, but Benoit gets his knees up. Benoit goes for the diving headbutt, but RVD moves. A few minutes later, Benoit goes for a back body drop off the top rope, but RVD is able to twist around in midair and hit a crossbody. This leaves Benoit knocked out in the middle of the ring. RVD is able to get to the rope, and after like a third try, hits the five-star frog splash and gets a 3 count to become the 3-time Intercontinental Champion. His 3rd title win since like WrestleMania that year. Seriously. This was a good match, but it sucks that the match barely already gets virtually no celebration time before they go. They end up going back to him, but it kind of. It's fun for the crowd, but it's watching kind of sucked in a way because it goes straight to Stephanie and Eric Bischoff to their scene they're gonna cut, where Bischoff is like, no hard feelings, best man won, tries to shake hands, but she laughs in his face and walks off. This will be relevant by the end of the show. Then we go back to RVD celebrating. The match went 16 plus minutes, easily the longest match of the night so far, but not the longest overall. Up next, we get a match package that celebrates the Un-Americans, which, okay, it's supposed to be the match. It's hyped as the match package for the upcoming grudge match between Test and Undertaker, but there's not a shot of the Undertaker in the whole package. It all just talking about the Un-Americans, and it feels like this should have been earlier in the show, right before their promo backstage with Jonathan Coachman. I had no problem with this package. It's just in the wrong place on the show. Why are you bothering showing us a package to tell us who these characters are if we've already seen them both wrestle and talk? So Test comes out with the upside down flag, and the Undertaker comes out as the American Badass character, and this is kind of a long squash. I've always kind of liked Test. He's not the best talker. He's not even the best wrestler, but he definitely had the presence. He definitely could have done more than what he did while he was around. God rest his soul. Eventually, the Un-Americans run out, try to run interference. They all get their ass beat, all squash. Tombstone, Taker pins Test to win the match. Was there ever any doubt? The match ends with Taker taking back the American flag and holding up the right way, wearing it over his neck like a scarf as he rides out of the arena. That's the match. Up next is why you watched the show. Unsanctioned match. Shawn Michaels versus Triple H. By the way, the match went 8 minutes, shortest match of the night. Shawn Michaels versus Triple H. This is my favorite match of 2002. The entire year that WWE put on. Everything about it, from the entrances to the post-match angle. The fucking match package is amazing. Amazingly done. Everything about it is so well built up. It was Shawn Michaels' first match in 4.5 years after he broke his back at the Royal Rumble 98. After he dropped the title to Stone Cold. Me, you, most wrestling fans had come to terms with, we are never going to see Shawn Michaels wrestle again. But not only did he get better, he got better. He got better in the ring. He got better as a person. His soul was full. He found God. He comes out to the ring wearing a t-shirt that says, I think it's Philippians. God damn it, I forget the actual verse. But basically it translates as, through God all things are possible. And it's just, it's just a t-shirt, cowboy boots, jeans. He's got his buckles and stuff on his Shawn Michaels entrance shit. Because he's got to be a sexy boy. But it is a very, very emotional match. And just so violent. Shawn blades. I've always thought this was kind of funny. You could tell Shawn wasn't used to blading anymore, because when he blades, the blood stops flowing and dries up and rubs off way too quick. By the end of the match, you can't even tell he bled for this. They use the steps. They use stairs. They use a ladder, tables. It's hellacious. I can't even go into all the crazy shit in this match. I actually absolutely love the part where Shawn Michaels completely runs around the ring to build up momentum, by not even running that fast, to just, face slam Hunter onto the steel steps. Shawn jumps off the top rope to the outside on Hunter in a splash to the table. He sets up a ladder in the ring and jumps on Hunter in the ring. And right before he does, he tells the crowd, "I love every single one of you." He goes to the corner. He's calling up for sweet chin music. He charges. Hunter ducks. Kicks him in the gut. Goes for the pedigree, but Shawn reverses, pulls his legs out, rolls through, and pins Triple H for the win. What an emotional and monumental match and victory. I've said many times before that I think roll-ups ultimately suck in pro wrestling, but if you do it the right way, if you're careful with it, it can be so much more emotional and so much more impactful than hitting your finisher. And maybe no one is better at understanding that than Shawn Michaels. A huge emotional victory. A fucking great moment all around. Instantly after the match, Triple H jumps Shawn Michaels, hits him twice in the back of the net with a sledgehammer, and the match ends with Shawn being stretchered out of the building. Truth is, it probably should have been the main event. But no. Fuck. Okay, before the main event, Howard Finkel's in there saying it's the first time he's called a pay-per-view in this arena since WrestleMania 2. There's fucking 3 arenas hosted WrestleMania 2, so big deal. This is just the one you were at. What was your main event? The fucking boxing match? I don't even remember. Trish Stratus comes off showing off her tits. And there's lots of stupid sexual innuendo. I have my puppies, you have your wiener, all kinds of stupid. She's basically just distracting him long enough for Lillian Garcia to sneak up and kick him in the nuts. Then the two baby blondes walk off. The babe blondes walk off while Finkel holds his Canucks. It sucked. It's a stupid segment. It's actually only worth watching because, hey, you get to look at Trish Stratus, and I will never complain about that. Except for when she post breastfeeding videos on Instagram. I'm not going to judge, you gotta breastfeed your kids, but I don't want to see that shit. I understand it's natural, but so is taking a shit. Do you want to see that in the middle of a fucking grocery store? Anyhow, main event time. The Rock defends the WWE Undisputed World Heavyweight Championship against Brock Lesnar, with Paul Heyman in his corner. As this video has gone long, I'm just kind of trying to run through this. It's a fun match. Brock actually cheats a lot more than you would expect, especially outside interference from Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman eventually gets a rock bottom through the table. Great moment in this match where both guys do a nip up at the same time after a double down. Brock hits a rock bottom. Rocky kicks out. Rocky goes for a rock bottom himself. Brock reverses it, hits the F5, and is the youngest WWE World Champion of all time at the time. This will also be the very last time the WWE Championship was competed as the Undisputed Championship. By, a week or so, it would just be the WWE Championship, which it has been pretty much ever since. It would also turn out the next night on Monday Night Raw that Stephanie McMahon's big, thing she was laughing at Eric Bischoff about, that what was her, ace up her sleeve, is that she had already signed an exclusive contract for Brock Lesnar to only wrestle on Thursday Night SmackDown, which means Raw would have no champion, which eventually calls Eric Bischoff to reinstate the old WCW World Heavyweight Championship, which he gave to Triple H, which would be a secondary main world championship, or even sometimes it was even more prestigious than the WWE World Championship, especially when Triple H was holding it, or Batista, or even Edge, over the next 10 years or more. And that was kind of the whole outcome and over. It is really both what it represents, its era of pro wrestling. It's fascinating to see. This truly is changing of the guard of a show. But the real reason to watch SummerSlam 2002 is the action, the quality of these matches. Everything there's no bad match. There's not a bad match. Everything serves its own individual unique purpose. You have your mid-card matches, you have your legend matches, you have your feel-goods, you have your star-making performances. It's just, you have your squash. It's absolutely amazing show from top to bottom. And no, throwing in 3 chick matches just to make the feminists happy wouldn't have made this a better show. By the way, the Shawn Michaels Triple H match was the longest match tonight, going over 27 minutes. And Brock and Rocky went just a little over 16. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. This is clearly an A+ show. One of the best shows the WWE has ever put on. But no matter, I don't know what I'm watching next month, but I decide it will not be WWE. I'm going to go back to some old school WCW because it's time for War Games. I'm Jake Davis, and I'll catch you on the fly.